Number title, Cop kicks Black Navy SEAL in court and is shocked when she strikes back. Number Part 1, the incident that shook the nation. In a small courthouse nestled in the heart of an urban city, tension crackled like static electricity. Lieutenant Marcus Kane, a decorated police officer known for his no-nonsense demeanor, stood confidently before Judge Evelyn Carter, who was presiding over what should have been a routine disciplinary hearing. On trial was Commander Ava Thompson, a highly respected Navy SEAL with multiple tours under her belt and medals adorning her uniform. Ava had been accused of excessive force during a high-profile arrest, a claim she vehemently denied. As evidence mounted against her, tensions escalated between her legal team and the prosecution led by Kane himself. During one heated exchange, Kane's frustration boiled over when he made a snide remark about military types thinking they're above the law. Without warning, he kicked Ava's ankle sharply under the table, a move meant to intimidate but witnessed only by those seated nearby. Ava didn't flinch outwardly, but something inside her snapped. Her eyes locked onto Kane's, promising retribution. Little did anyone know, this moment would set off a chain reaction that would ripple through both their lives and make national headlines. Number Part 2, a legacy of strength. To understand why Ava reacted so fiercely, one must first delve into her past. Born into poverty in a predominantly black neighborhood, Ava grew up surrounded by adversity. Her father served as a Marine until his untimely death overseas, leaving her mother to raise 3 children alone. Despite these hardships, Ava excelled academically and physically, earning a scholarship to a prestigious university where she joined ROTC. Her journey to becoming a Navy SEAL was nothing short of grueling. Only a handful of women had ever completed the program, and fewer still were black. Yet Ava persevered, breaking barriers and shattering stereotypes along the way. Her military career was marked by heroism, including rescuing hostages in hostile territories and leading covert operations that saved countless lives. When Kane insulted not just her integrity but also disrespected her service, it wasn't just personal, it felt like an attack on every person who looked like her and dared to dream beyond societal limitations. For Ava, standing down wasn't an option, striking back became inevitable. Number Part 3, the lawsuit heard round the world. Days after the courtroom incident, news outlets picked up whispers of what transpired. Social media erupted with outrage as videos surfaced showing Kane's subtle yet unmistakable act of aggression. Public opinion quickly turned against him, demanding accountability from law enforcement agencies. Fueling the fire, Ava filed a formal complaint and launched a civil lawsuit against Kane and the department, accusing them of misconduct and discrimination. What followed was a media circus unlike any other. Supporters rallied behind Ava, organizing protests outside courthouses and police stations nationwide. Hashtags like #Justice for Ava trended globally, while critics argued that Kane's actions were justified given the alleged brutality Ava faced charges for. Meanwhile, Kane found himself ostracized by colleagues who feared association with scandal, even as internal investigations began digging deeper into his conduct. His once stellar reputation crumbled under scrutiny, forcing him to confront uncomfortable truths about privilege, power, and prejudice within the system he swore to uphold. Number Part 4, Redemption or Ruin. As the trial unfolded, secrets spilled onto the public stage. Testimonies revealed systemic issues plaguing both law enforcement and the military, issues Ava had long fought silently against. Witnesses described how Kane frequently bullied subordinates and used racial slurs off-duty, painting a damning picture of unchecked authority. On the stand, Ava delivered a powerful testimony detailing not only the events leading up to the courtroom altercation but also her lifelong battle against bias. Her words resonated deeply, humanizing her struggle and galvanizing support further. Meanwhile, Kane's defense faltered as inconsistencies emerged in his version of events. The turning point came when surveillance footage from the courthouse corridor surfaced, capturing Kane boasting about putting that seal in her place to another officer shortly after the incident. This revelation sealed his fate, turning public sentiment decisively in Ava's favor. Number Part 5, Justice prevails in the end. justice prevailed but not without scars. Cain was stripped of his badge, demoted, and sentenced to community service. More importantly, his case sparked widespread reforms aimed at addressing racism and abuse of power within policing institutions. For Ava, victory tasted bittersweet. While exonerated of all charges, she chose to leave active duty, dedicating herself instead to mentoring young Black women pursuing careers in STEM and military fields. Her story inspired legislation promoting diversity and inclusion across sectors traditionally dominated by white men. Though her life changed forever, Ava remained steadfast in her mission, to ensure no one else endured what she had. As she walked away from the courthouse on the final day of the trial, surrounded by loved ones and admirers alike, she held her head high not out of pride, but purpose. For Ava Thompson, the fight wasn't over, it had merely evolved. And somewhere, deep down, Cain knew he'd met his match. Part 1, the incident that shook the nation. It all started on a crisp morning in a small courthouse tucked away in the heart of a bustling city. Outside, the streets buzzed with activity, cars honking, people rushing to work, and vendors shouting about their goods. Inside, though, the air was thick with tension. This wasn't just any ordinary day. It was the kind of day that would leave an entire nation holding its breath. The courtroom was packed, with every seat filled. Reporters scribbled notes furiously in the back rows while cameras clicked softly, capturing every move. At the center of it all sat two figures who couldn't have been more different. On one side was a seasoned police officer, a man known for his no-nonsense attitude and years of service. He carried himself with authority, his uniform crisp, his badge gleaming under the fluorescent lights. Across from him sat a woman, a decorated Navy SEAL whose presence commanded respect even before she spoke. Her military career had earned her medals and accolades, but today, she wasn't here as a hero. She was here as a defendant. The hearing was supposed to be straightforward. A disciplinary case stemming from allegations of excessive force during an arrest. The details were murky, with both sides presenting conflicting accounts. Witnesses had been called, evidence reviewed, and arguments made. But as the hours dragged on, tempers began to flare. The atmosphere grew heavier, like a storm cloud hovering just above everyone's heads. Then it happened. No one saw it coming, at least not at first. In the middle of a heated exchange between the two legal teams, the cop leaned forward slightly. His foot shot out beneath the table, connecting sharply with the woman's ankle. It was subtle enough to go unnoticed by most people in the room, save for those seated closest to them. For a brief moment, there was silence. The kind of silence where you can almost hear hearts pounding and minds racing. But the woman didn't react the way anyone might have expected. There was no gasp, no cry of pain, no immediate retaliation. Instead, she simply looked at him. Her expression remained calm, almost eerily so. But her eyes told a different story. They burned with intensity, promising something unspoken yet undeniable: this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. What followed next turned the courtroom into chaos. Someone sitting nearby whispered loudly, "Did he just kick her?" Another voice chimed in, louder this time. Soon, murmurs spread like wildfire, drawing attention from every corner of the room. Even the judge paused mid-sentence, sensing the sudden shift in energy. For the cop, it must have felt like a fleeting victory. Maybe he thought he'd asserted dominance, reminded her of her place. After all, he was law enforcement, an authority figure used to commanding respect. And she? Well, she was the one on trial, accused of crossing a line. To him, perhaps it seemed justified. A harmless act meant to intimidate. But what he failed to realize was who he was dealing with. This wasn't just any woman. She wasn't someone who backed down easily or let others push her around. Every fiber of her being had been forged through years of hardship, discipline, and resilience. Kicking her under the table wasn't just an insult, it was a declaration of war. As the commotion grew, lawyers scrambled to regain control of the situation. The judge banged his gavel repeatedly, demanding order. Yet beneath the surface, a deeper conflict was brewing. This wasn't just about a single incident anymore. It was about power, respect, and accountability. About the thin line between justice and injustice. By the time the session ended, news of what happened had already leaked outside. Reporters swarmed the courthouse steps, microphones thrust toward anyone willing to talk. Social media exploded with speculation, outrage, and calls for answers. Videos surfaced, blurry but damning, showing the cop's foot moving under the table. People watched in disbelief, their reactions ranging from shock to fury. "This is outrageous," one commenter wrote online. "How dare he disrespect a veteran like that," another added. "Something has to be done," echoed countless others. And they were right. Something did need to be done. Because this wasn't just about one bad decision in a courtroom. It was about exposing flaws in systems designed to protect and serve. It was about holding people accountable not just for their actions, but for the attitudes behind them. For the cop, life would never be the same after that day. For the woman, it marked the beginning of a battle she hadn't chosen but refused to lose. Neither of them could have predicted how far-reaching the consequences would be, not just for themselves, but for the entire country. Little did they know, this single moment would ignite a firestorm of debate, reflection, and change. A firestorm that would burn brightly for months and maybe even years to come. This version keeps the tone engaging and conversational, focusing on building suspense and painting a vivid picture of the scene. It avoids overly dramatic language while maintaining a natural flow that feels authentic and relatable.